Hey guys, what's going on? This is John Bass and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to take a bit of a new swing at a topic that is basically viewer feedback and my opinions on the feedback and comments that you guys give me on multiple fronts, be it lore, all kinds of different things like that. Today we're going to take a very specific look into a comment that I got on one of my previous videos that really stuck out to me. Now, keep in mind to the person that this person whose comment this video is directed to, this isn't personal in any way. I will be giving positive and negative feedback both to how I feel about your comment and different bases and lore, whether or not it's entirely accurate to certain points. Just remember, this is not personal towards you. This is just my opinion the same way that you gave me your opinion. So let's go ahead and get into the reading of this comment. This comment was written by Storm Orm, or Stormy Ormy. I didn't want to, butcher your name. I have no idea how it is that you pronounce it. So go ahead and let me know in the comments if I did mispronounce it or which one of those two were pronounced correctly. So let's go ahead and jump into what this comment says. The Alliance appears to be a bit quick to the forgiveness of the selfishness of Gilneas, though it is completely within the Boy King's character to completely overlook it. My only issue with this is that the human races of the game get along so flawlessly that it ironically makes them feel less human. We see little in lore where a human will outright challenge Anduin in earnest, and he always ends up showing them the right path in no time flat, and then they move on. Greymane was the only one rocking the boat until I guess they wanted to downplay him so that they could make Jaina the contrast party. I don't really mind how things have played out, but I would like to see some quest or something in the story that shows the humans aren't all united in some odd hive mind following their king. I mean a real human conflict of the Alliance parties, not some defiance crap that they can then sweep under the rug. So now let's take a little bit more of an in-depth look into a couple of the points specifically mentioned by this viewer within their comment. The first being that the Alliance seems all too quick to forgive all the selfish acts of Gilneas, although it is completely within the Void King's character to overlook such actions. Now, I completely agree with you on this point. It is 100% within Anduin's character to overlook some rather selfish, really arrogant actions that were committed by Gin and committed by his people. Specifically mentioning things like shutting themselves out from the Alliance with their giant wall, or even before that, limiting military, monetary, and municipal resources that were given to the Alliance during the first invasion of the Orcs during the First War. Okay, I mean the way that Gilneas ignored the Alliance and ignored their pleas for help, and then when they discovered tragedy themselves, or went running to the Alliance and begging for help, it just seems all too predictable to me in some specific light. Now, the next point I wanted to look at is he said, the human races of Azeroth seem to get along so flawlessly that it ironically makes them feel less human. We see little lore evidence in the past where a human outright challenges their leader in earnest. They always end up showing them the right path in the end. Now, to a degree, I agree with you, because I feel like there is a lot more conflict between various other races of the Horde and Alliance, particularly being within the Orcs, being within the Forsaken, within the different Elven communities, things along those lines. But the humans have, to a relatively extensive point throughout lore, have actually had quite a few seemingly very intense, very morally standing and hard to pick a side of arguments that are very controversial. One of my favorite examples of this would be the events of the culling of Stratholme with Arthas Menethil. Now, keep in mind, Arthas wasn't just a paladin, but he was, the heir to the throne of Lordaeron. When the Plague of Undeath, found its way into his kingdoms, found its way into Lordaeron, Arthas saw no other way out. He decided that culling the people of that city and just wiping them all out before they could turn into ravenous undead and kill everybody themselves would be the best outcome. However, Uther Lightbringer and Jaina Proudmoore and a couple of other specific, unnamed characters decided that that was a very bad idea and decided to disagree with them morally in their own way by just denying his order. Now, Arthas claimed this to be treason, which kind of gets my point across that Uther was a fantastic example of a human standing up to their soon-to-be leader or to their superior as a paladin and just saying no, that it wasn't the right answer. Another pretty okay example of this, which I'm going to get into a little bit more detail about later, would be Jaina Proudmoore, the way that she defied the Alliance, the way she defied Kul Tiras to defend the orcs and to try to convince her father that the orcs weren't so bad, which then resulted in her father's death. I mean, during the Battle for Azeroth, we see a whole lot more light into this subject, and I mean, the fact that, they wrote a song about Jaina, the Sea Witch or whatever it is, it was something along those lines. Now, my next point that I'm going to look at is stated Greymane was the only one rocking the boat until I guess they wanted to downplay him a little so they could make Jaina the contrast party. Now, it has been very strongly established in lore for a long time that Jaina could potentially eventually be an antagonist. After the bombing of Theramore, the way that she decided that she hated the Horde. She hated the Horde with every fiber of her being. She's always been a little bit of a contrast party in her own way. At least since the events of the Cataclysm. Before then, she was, all about peace, all about finding the balance between the Horde and Alliance and giving them the peaceful moment that they deserve, which we found evidence of during the Wrath of the Lich King and Dalaran, things along those lines. Now, the next point I want to look at is that Storm mentions his yearning to want to see some quests or something along those lines that show that humans aren't all united in some odd hive mind following their king, meaning real human conflict, not some Defias crap that can just be swept under the rug. Now, like I said before, we had conflicts with Arthas Menethil. We had issues like Adalius Blackmore, where, granted, he wasn't a leader of the Alliance per se, but he was a militant leader to a degree. He ran an internment camp, and he had plans to overtake the Alliance and all of Azeroth with an army of very specially trained orcs that, to do his bidding. Now, don't take necessarily the Defias as being a minimal problem. The Defias and even the whatever Hogger is, for some reason, the Gnolls and Defias specifically, according to lore, have actually been a quite serious problem for the Alliance of Stormwind, and have, especially with situations like the Defias overtaking their small settlements and causing thievery, raising general havoc within their people. It caused a really intense raid in crime and murder, all kinds of things throughout their city, which then made it a really serious priority to deal with, because how can you deal with outside problems when you haven't dealt with an inside problem yet, right? Not even just that, to be my only point, but I've given plenty of other evidence throughout this video stating and showing many other ways that the Alliance have found themselves in very intensive human conflict, finding themselves in very controversial situations. The human may not be quite as boring of a race as everybody thinks they are, and this is my thought and opinion on this viewer's feedback. Now, again, Storm, thank you so much for giving me your permission to use your comment to create a video. It gave me quite an inspiration because I had quite a bit of feedback to give you myself, and I didn't feel as though I could give you the feedback justice via the comment section. I felt like I wanted to make an entire video in contrast to what you had to say to me. There are going to be a couple of other comments that I'm going to reply to within the next day or two to ask you guys if it's okay with you for me to use your comment in reference to create an entire other video out of it. So be expecting it, especially if you are one of the people who recently provided sources to me and all kinds of things to prove your points with lore statements, to either prove me wrong in something I've said or to correct me in something that I have misstated. All of this back and forth feedback is fantastic, guys, and please keep it up, because this is the kind of stuff that allows me to create engaging and fun content for everybody to enjoy. So to wrap things up, this is my very first attempt at a couple of different things. First of all, trying to add visual aids. I know it may seem a little bit clunky and not too well put together this time around, but it's just because it's my very first attempt at adding these visual effects. I'm going to try to change up the footage type that I'm using so that it's not quite as distracting. Going to at least try to make it not boring, but less active, a little bit more pleasing to the eye, and trying to bring more attention to the topic that I'm discussing versus what's happening on the screen. Trying to add in, the example of the viewer comment that I went over today, a couple of different bullet points, things along those natures. Just be sure to give me continued feedback in the comment section down below, much the way you guys have been previously. I really, really appreciate all of it. It's been very helpful, and I hope that this video has shown that. Like I said previously, I really want to give this whole viewer feedback video series an attempt because you guys are so active so far in the comment section. You guys are giving me all kinds of opinions, giving me examples and proving me wrong on different aspects and things that I've gone over throughout the lore. Some of you have even gone as far as providing very viable sources to get your point across. I mean, it's all very helpful. I would love to continue doing this. So if you have something you would like to see me give my feedback on, be sure to let me know in the comment section. And as always, if you like this video, hit that like button. If you support what I'm all about, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. Most important of all, please hit that comment section down below. I know I've said this a few times already, but the community on this channel is everything to me, guys. I love the back and forth conversation because without that conversation, I have no content to create. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and be safe.